1. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. This time we're talking about everything Worlds 2020. My guests today are KoiPhish, Zoodiac, and Jockey. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing pretty good.
Good. All right, we got a lot to talk about. And by a lot, I mean a lot to talk about. So kind of one of the first things that we were talking about was reactions to play-in. We're just going to kind of go around and we'll start each topic off with a different person each time. So, KoiPhish, I'm going to start this one off with you. Play-ins reactions. What, good, bad, the ugly, surprises, not surprises, what you got?
Good news, for me at least, Team Liquid made out of groups. That was a good thing. The surprises...
One step closer.
Yeah, basically. Surprises, Supermassive did not make it out.
Okay.
LGD is a little bit worse than I thought they were originally going to, and Unicorns of Love actually making it, a good appearance. By the way, PCS, right? For those who don't know, was originally the LMS, right? And then they combined two regions together and they made the PCS, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually not very surprised that PSG took first. I totally forgot the LMS existed until I looked more into what the PCS region was.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody who's watched the LMS before, because I used to watch a lot of the LMS. LMS was one of the few regions that people would consider one of the dark horses, or one of the Koreans always have trouble. The Koreans always have trouble with, and that China also has trouble with. So I actually can see PCS actually destroying a lot of the Chinese and Korean teams. So
okay.
I was kind of, as soon as I figured out who PCS was, I'm not that surprised PSG took first.
So it's interesting. I got some follow-up questions on that one then, and I guess Zoodiac and Jockey will probably have their owns for you on that one. So you talked about that you weren't really surprised that PSG Talent sort of made it out. How did you feel about their chances even when you heard that they had to sub out 3 people?
Well, I found out two of the players are from AHQ, and I was like, oh, well, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just... I haven't really kept up with much of the LMS in a while, just because they just disappeared, right?
Yeah.
And no one really talked about the PCS either. So I wasn't like. I guess the only thing I was surprised was that those three players showed up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was mostly surprised of. Like, and this is the second best team, right? Like, I want to see what this team has with their entire roster, because they could actually be unstoppable for all we know.
I see. So you brought up briefly that you weren't just the second question I had. You brought up briefly that you weren't very surprised that that you were sort of surprised that UOL kind of made it out. I guess my question on that one is that they had only lost 2 games the entire year going in. Now, of course, the meme is that they've doubled the number of games they've lost since being in the play-in stage. But I mean, regardless, they had only dropped 2 games the entire year. I mean, that's not something even the best teams in the world, from the major regions can say. I mean, SKT has certainly never done that. Damwons hasn't done that. So I'm kind of curious as to why you were surprised that they made it out.
To be honest with you, I kind of thought, like, originally, if you asked me way beforehand who it was gonna come out, before the day of the play-in started, my guess was Team Liquid and Supermassive or Mad Lions were going to get out.
Okay.
Of group A, right? And I also thought PSG and LGD were. It was going to be one of those, right, like 4, right? To me, I don't know. Like, I don't know much about the wildcard regions. I don't really watch a lot of the wildcards, right? So it was surprising to me. Like, oh yeah, sure. Like, a team can go like 100-0 in a game, but they're not from the main regions, right? Like, I think one thing I learned from this wildcard region is that, like, the wildcards that what we consider to be not as good are actually a lot better than what we thought. That's why I'm surprised. I think wildcards in specific are kind of like there are other regions people would consider a joke, right?
Right.
Obviously, no disrespect, but people, but other like people look at Brazil and Latin America, they don't really think much of it, you
Mhm.
know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't really respect it, but I think I have a whole new respect for the wild card regions now because of teams like Supermassive and Unicorns of Love and you know like NA. No,
That's a little weird to say though. Normally we don't get to say that, but
jokes aside,
Yeah.
you know, like yeah, like I have a whole new respect for the wild card.
interesting. All right, Zodiac, we're gonna go to you. Surprises, disappointments, things that you thought were gonna happen. Just what you got over there?
Right. So one of the first good things that I saw was that like I think for the first time in a long time on the international stage, other than MSI that one year last year, this is like the TL that people really expected to see,
Hmm.
where they just flex their muscles in terms of just talent and they just run over teams. You know what I mean? And let's be honest here, they dropped one game, but a lot of people on Twitter and Reddit were saying that they intentionally lost that game so that Mad Lions would have to play a tiebreaker with ints to actually get into the best of
Yeah,
five.
I've heard that theory.
Yeah.
So I fully believe it because I mean, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you just try and stick it to EU? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, some and other than and another good thing, of course, like Koi was talking about, like the wild card regions, like this is like one of the first times that I've seen Worlds, and I'm like actually like looking like wow, there are some wild card teams that could beat a lot of like the Power Four regions. Like, you know, who's to say that PSG can't take a game or two off of Danwon or JDG?
Hmm.
You know, who's to say that Unicorns um, can't compete with Dragon X or Top or FlyQuest for that matter. And then even then, we haven't seen Machi play yet. We haven't seen them play. Granted, and who knows? You know, Group A seems like probably the weakest group, and if they are like, I can't remember that name, but they were the one international team that got out of groups the year CLG was the one seed,
Albus Nox
but like
Luna.
they could be
Yeah,
like
Albus Nox Luna.
Albus Knox. Yeah, thank you. And they like Albus Knox and spoil someone. So like the wildcard teams are going to be really interesting. Now in terms of disappointments, I never want to see Shadow play Evelyn ever again. If he plays Evelyn, Mad Lion should fire him on the spot. Like if he's on stage, the manager should walk out, say you're gone, because he actually ran it down. Like I can probably play Evelyn better than he can, and I've played Evelyn like 3 times.
Okay. That's a hot take. All right, so explain. So explain what you. So we're gonna stop it on that one because that's a hot take. So explain what your frustration is because you're obviously frustrated. I can see that. What's your frustration with him? Is it the pick? Is it the play style? Is it maybe the player? What's going on there?
Just that, like Shadow is kind of like Blabber in a sense. So Blabber, the C9 jungler from this year, he's a very aggressive jungler. Like he's always trying to fight the enemy jungler. He's always trying to get ahead. Well, the problem is when Mad Lions, they pick a Mad Lions, they're a team that wants to fight. The problem is when you pick Evelyn, like you need 6. You need your finished jungle item before you start 100 to 0ing people. Shadow's out here playing like Lee Sin, where he's like, all right, I'm gonna fight you, Set, and then Set just punches him. He's like, oh, I lost jungle because now he's invading me. I can't contest. And then Humanoid is just dying 1v1 for no reason in the mid lane because he thinks he can kill him. And Karzi and Kaiser and they're I forget who they're talking
Arome.
about. Yeah. Arome is like, guys, please. Like, come on. Like, they're just trying to scale and, like, play their lanes. And Humanoid and Shadow are, like, just perma-fighting when there's no reason to fight.
To
I
be
don't know
fair,
if it's a disconnect, but, like, it's just bad league. It's literally just bad League of Legends from a team that a lot of people expected to get out of plans.
to be fair, I think Humanoid got the Bjergsen's treatment. where they just kept banning
Yeah.
gamers.
Yeah.
And that's fine, right? But like I think, to me at least, it was kind of everybody else, and especially Shadow. Holy moly, Shadow mostly fed his ass off, and Humanoid was carrying the game as hard as he could. But I think he was trying to
Yeah.
1v9 too hard. You have that solo queue player who's fed as hell, but he keeps doing dumb things, right? Like watching it felt like it was like watching like Faker with SKT. Like like he's doing everything he can, but at the same time,
Yeah.
can't do everything.
I mean, and again, it's not all Humanoid's fault.
Yeah.
I think it was like what? It was the closeout game 5 against Supermassive, where I'm trying to pull up the draft right now, but they had just it was something to behold, because imagine I think
game?
it was they were
Which game?
side game 5 was the last game. So if you're Mad Lions and your comp is Senna, Corki, Graves, Leona, what top laner do you think should be paired with that? Because if you say Renekton, that's what Mad Lions thinks. like it just like I don't know if the coaching staff, and again, this is a lot of their first worlds, so I will give them some of these players some slack because it's their first worlds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this coaching staff, why are you trying to have a role where you play like Renekton every game? Like, dude can play Gangplank and be fine. But no, gotta pick Renekton into Malphite. Or no, I don't think they picked it into Malphite.
So you're talking about that
Malphite's
last game. You're talking about that last game between Mad Lions and Supermassive.
Yeah.
So that last game was Malphite Supermassive had the Malphite, Lilia, Set, Caitlyn, Morgana combo, and then Mad, for whatever reason, went Renekton, Graves, Corki, Senna, Leona.
I think the main reason why is the influence that the LPL has put, right? Especially for EU, because like one thing I noticed is that like everyone, like Renekton is like the must pick for LPL right now, right? Like they have to have Renekton, and but like I said before, like EU just needs to play EU gameplay. They need to not copy LPL style, because half of these team comps that I kept looking, half the team comps that were played at Worlds were picks from
LPL.
China and LPL and the LCK. Those are picks that I see like, oh, these are the common comps that I see all the time. But they really need to just switch things and just play the way EU players are. I guarantee you G2 is not going to do the same thing.
No, absolutely.
Wonder is going to be like, I'm not going to pick Renekton. Screw Renekton. Like, Renekton just sucks.
So Rocket or like Gangplank or like
Well, let's save the picks talk for later in the. Let's save the picks talk later for the show, because we got a lot of good points here, and I want to give it in their own time. Jockey, I want to go to you real quick on reactions from play-ins. Anything that stood out to you about the teams, about any of the players? Some surprises, some disappointments.
All right. So this one is both a disappointment and a surprise with LGD and how they did initially during the best of ones. Like, it was just hard to see them in those best of ones, like dropping those games where they should have won but didn't, and that got me a little bit nervous about LGD. But they thankfully picked it up in the knockout games when they 3-0'd, I think it was Rainbow Seven and Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So it restored a little bit of faith in me, but I'm still a little nervous about how they're going to do in best of ones in the actual group stage. But we'll get to that, of course, later. But what some other surprises? Trying to think.
What I will say. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's fine. PSG doing that good with their substitutes in their, I think, jungle and mid lane. It was amazing to see how good they were still playing, even with subs that they, I think, didn't even play with throughout the whole season with their main roster.
Mm-hmm.
So
those three players were brought in from other teams that didn't qualify, but were regionally specific to them, so they were able to play. But you're right, they had not played together at all, except for the time in quarantine that they had up until leading to that stage.
Yeah, and it was really great to see them like they're brand new, but they still like synergize really well with the rest of the team, and they performed really well. And I think that like I think Koi said earlier, like it can cause some chaos in that group with Damon and JDG. I seriously think they can cause some chaos in that group. But another disappointment, like going off what Zoodiac said about Mad Lions, severely disappointing. Like I thought they would have, like I was imagining them as like the Misfits or something like that from 2017. Like they were a rookie team. They were, you mean Power Evil, Alfari, all those guys were brand new to the game, and they almost took down SKT. And I was kind of having that kind of hopes for Mad Lions, but once I seen them in like their first few games, I was like, okay, yeah, this is bad for them. This is not going to go the way I thought, and I was very disappointed in that. But like we said, it's the first time at Worlds, so I think that with more experience, playing in their own region and figuring out like their real play style instead of trying to copying others, I think that they can become a world class team.
Interesting. Anybody want to add anything else before we move on to champions and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, there is a.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Boy.
There's just something that I just want to point out. I didn't really think about this much, but Team Liquid is actually really stacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that Impact and Core JJ were world champions, and that Jensen and Broxton was a finalist for Worlds, and Jensen was a semifinalist. And it's tactical, a rookie like leading the way. That was something that I was surprised. I totally forgot that those two that team is entirely stacked. I have no idea how they ended up in third place for NA, but like that team is stacked.
Well, I think that one was just a weird combinations of playoffs because they had the best season they finished first. They've had the best season they've ever had in North America, Team Liquid, and I mean I think it was just a kind of a roundabouts of just playoffs luck, which I mean it happens, but I think that it was interesting in the way that they still qualified. I think it was okay for them to go to play-ins, and I certainly think that something that Kadril was talking about on the desk. He talked about this with Quick Shot, and I think this is really important to talk about when he talks about and I'll save the majority of this for later, but he talked about how well Liquid was playing and how well they've coordinated their players and their read on the meta and how much that's played into them sort of understanding where to go, because you can't really people kind of meme on Brock so that he has a champion puddle, but the problem is you can't just ban him out because there's other credible threats on TL. So banning him out is kind of a mistake, and he's gonna get something he can play with. Like worst case comes to worse, he plays Sejuani. Or he plays some other, he plays Jarvan, which isn't really meta right now. But my point is you can't just ban him out, because then you have Impact, you have Jensen, you have Core JJ, and then you have Tactical, who they're all showing they have decent champion pools, and that that they can't really be banned out all the easy. So I was very happy to see how well they did in the group stage. I guess for me, the only thing that was surprising was the LGD scenario, in the sense that even though they are the 4th seed, there's kind of the phrase going around of don't judge a region by one team.
Yeah.
So, for instance, LGD, even though they didn't play well, you can't really judge the whole region by that. I think that is true in some sense, but they also represent the playing style of a region. They also represent the mentality and the way that a region sort of approaches the game, because those teams are fairly similar in the way that they approach games. Now, yes, every team's going to have their spin on things, or champions that are different, or different levels of playing. Hello, I'm here, Koi Drag. Hi there. Good to see you. But I think that one of the most interesting things about LGD is the fact that if they are in some way a representative of the region, and they don't really necessarily have a read on the meta, or they didn't have as strong a start as maybe that people thought they would, what does this mean for the other teams that are sort of kind of sitting and stewing? Because I'll be honest, it's not that much time between now and the group stage. Like, it's literally on Saturday. It's only a couple of days. That team is still going to be hot. It's not like, there's a week between the play-in stage and the group stage where, they're not going to be carrying that momentum. Like, Liquid is still very, very hot off their games. It's only going to have been 4 or 5 days since they've played, which, is almost a week, but it makes a difference. So I think LGD not quite delivering was surprising. Now, credit where credit's due. I mean, they massively ramped it up, and those 3-0s didn't look like they were close. I mean, it looked like a smash. I mean, LGD looked like they were trying to make those games hurt to prove a point. I mean, the one against R7 specifically, like, it looked like they weren't very happy that they had been put in that situation, and they looked like they were trying to make that stick so people remember, like, hey, You know,
Yeah.
we were supposed to be the favorites in this group for a reason. So I'm interested to see how they do in the group stage, which we'll get to here in a little bit. And then again, and we've hit on this before. The other thing that's really, really, really surprising for me is the PSG thing. You know, yes, they are a strong region, but I like your voice very MC. Like, thanks you. I actually don't know how to say that. I don't. We have one viewer, and I'm so glad we actually have one viewer, at least one, talking this time. So that's nice. This is gonna be weird for anybody listening to this, either on their phone or just watching this on YouTube. But I mean, they'll be okay. But I think that the PSG thing is. I mean, they deserve a massive round of applause. It's one thing to. I mean, and keep in mind, they were in the group of death. Like they. By every means, they could have been knocked out and no one would have batted an eye. Like everyone was expecting, oh, UOL undefeated almost the entire year. You've got LGD in there. I mean, it's woe is PSG. You know, it's the group of death. Oh, what's that? Now they have 3 players that are being subbed out. Oh, it's GG, game over. Not only did they go in there and win, they smashed and they looked really good in doing it. So I've said this on Twitter, I've said this on Reddit, but I definitely think that entire organization deserves a round of applause for getting that done, because if they had failed in that circumstance, nobody would have batted an eye. Been like, you know what, we get it, it's understandable. Have a nice day. Thank you for coming to Worlds. We'll maybe see you next year. But they were not willing to take that, and they didn't just come and survive. They really did thrive in it. Now, what's interesting for me,
this is one point. I would not be surprised if those 2 players that subbed in, or those 3 players that subbed in for PSG, go to PSG.
I wouldn't either. And here's the funny thing. I was talking about this with a friend on Discord the other day. There's 2 topics I want to hit for that before we move on to the next segment, or get everybody's last opinions before we move on to the next one. But 2 things I want to hit real quick. The first is that I'm interested to see how well the team does now that they have to sub the players back in, because it's kind of funny because you almost feel like that you would want them to sort of be able to stay in the group that they're in and the current team format, because it's like, oh, we subbed in these 3 players, we smashed literally everybody, we really don't want to change it, but now you have to because they're not allowed to stay. So that's one interesting thing. And then the other thing that's going to be interesting to me too, damn it, I just forgot my point. I think what I was going to say was that going into that next group, you know, how if they manage, so actually going into the group stage of Worlds, if they manage to deliver, how, you know, is the LPL going to kind of play grabby and like, oh, you know, hey, look, this is kind of technically a Chinese team. Why don't you come over to the LPL? You know, we got some teams we can give the boot and we can make room for you. So it's not likely it'll happen because they've recently just expanded that league, you know, to include more teams. And obviously there are, you know, some kind of franchising things there, but it is funny that because the league reserves the right to kind of cut contracts where they want to. So, you know, would they kick a lower team to make room for PSG? It's just one of those things, because, you know, the way that the kind of the reformatting of that region happened, it's just food for thought. I'm interested to see what you guys think about that.
I think it's possible, but I think for one thing, and this is just me personally, for anybody who wants to win a world champion, right? I feel like the easier route is for you to go to PSG over. Mm-hmm. The LPL has so many teams, so many good teams, and even if we put like the 4th best team like LGD, right? There's still a very good team. You know, even if they're 4th place, they could still. I could still see them going to taking the worlds. You know,
mm-hmm.
You know, like maybe maybe unlikely that they do, but like, you know, there's still a chance, a 1% chance that they're. Oh well, this team is still like pretty fucking good, even if they're not like, you know, the number 1 team. There's that LPL in general is just stacked with monster players and monster teams. Yeah. I don't think if you ask me personally, if you were to ask me, hey, we want your team to come join our league, right? It's like, yeah, but it'll be hard for me to like go to Worlds, which is the most important tournament of the year. Mm-hmm. Why do that when I could stay at PCS, where PCS has like 8 teams and you only have to fight amongst them versus the 10 teams that the LPL has, which are stacked with monsters, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's just
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely a fair thought.
Yeah, and I honestly agree with you because, like, the LPL, like you said, it's stacked up, and to have a team like that enter in the LPL, it would take some time for them to get to that level with Top and JDG to get to that level. So I think that they would probably stay in the PCS because it'd be an easier path for them to get to Worlds. Even if it's you have to go through play-ins to get to it, you still get to go to Worlds. So
Absolutely.
instead of going into an LPL that's stacked with famous names, famous teams. So yeah, I think it would be better to stay in the PCS.
By the way, there's like 17 teams.
Oh yeah, no, it's some
I
ridiculous number.
thought it was like 10, 11, or right.
No,
No,
they
they have a lot.
some
Yeah,
ridiculous numbers.
there's so many. Like, there's no way that like you know like there's just, at least for me, I would not.
Interestingly enough, I wonder if the reverse would happen. I wonder if teams from the LPL would try to go to move over to the PCS region and franchise over there in order to maybe not only increase their chance of going to Worlds, but in order to make that region more competitive, especially if they're seeing that players like the ones that PSG has, that the PCS have, are available over there to play on teams. So it's interesting to see how kind of the regional strength of meta strength strength of meta is switching between which regions are actually getting stronger.
Actually, now that I think about it, I don't remember this, but I'm pretty sure Sunning is former Flash Wolf.
Are they really?
I
Really?
think so. Yeah, Flash Wolves, they don't have a team anymore.
No.
Yeah, I think
So-
Sunning.
Sword Art, Huang Feng, Angels, Sofum, and
Yeah,
Ben.
because I know.
Yeah, so yeah, it no,
Yeah.
because Sword Art was on Yoei for the longest.
Yep.
So that's probably true that Sunning is a rebranded version of Yoei.
Yeah, stuff.
Which even then, Yoei for a little bit was like a top 5 team in the world. Like
Yeah.
they if you were a Korean team and you played Yoei, you might as well just say, well, this is a loss because you literally could not beat them. Like they
Yeah.
just had Korea's number for the longest time.
Yeah.
All right.
I looked it up. Real quick, and Suning was T Bear Gaming.
T-Bear
Actually.
Gaming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But-
So that's the play-ins talked about. We'll probably come back and re-hit this issue a little bit more, maybe towards the end of the segment. But what I want to move on to next is one of the things we've already been kind of hitting on a little bit, and one of the most important things to talk about play-ins, because if you talk about the teams and the players, got to talk about what they're playing. And the next bit I want to talk about is the champions. Discussing some of the picks, some of the good, the bad, some of the really, really ugly. And Zoodiac, I want to start you off with this one. So, what have you got over there? What's your take on the meta as it's shaping right now, or has shaped up in the play-ins? And do you think it will carry over to groups?
I think it will. I think right now, the meta is really weird because it's champions that like really spike at around 2-3 items. You're not really seeing like full late game comps. Although some people opt for it. Champions that I want to see more of is if it's all available on Red Side, because Red Side gets the first 2 picks. If Morgana's banned, go Twitch Recon. Twitch Recon is absolutely the most busted bot lane right now. You farm to Cutlass, you go invisible as Twitch, you can Cutlass them while you're invisible. Recon eats you and does this full combo, and it's it's unreactable by that time.
Yeah.
And Twitch generally outscales most of the meta ADs. Kate, Senna, Ashe, Jhin, is even Ezreal, which I'll talk about that coming down here. But Twitch Recon, I think that's the best bot lane. I don't know why teams just don't pick it if Morgana's banned, because it's super safe, and most AD carries know how to play Twitch. In terms of other stuff, I'm of the Church of LS where I despise Lee Sin because like we even saw it with Peanut on the group stage. There was a point, I think it was against the first game against R7, where it was like, okay, you got like a couple kills, like what are you doing now? Like you literally are doing, because you don't provide anything once we get to 2 to 3 items if you aren't like always fighting the AD with insects. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to do so much more work when you could just pick like Set jungle or Volibear jungle or Hecarim. No one's playing Hecarim. for some reason.
It's been getting
Hecarim's
banned.
yeah, if it's not banned, it should be played. Like it should be played. It's going to be 100% pick ban because
Okay, so
Hecarim's
interesting.
just
So you're talking about the Hecarim. So one of the big, because sorry to interrupt you, I want to bring up one of the big things surrounding the Hecarim. So the Hecarim has basically no play time. It's been banned 8 times so far out of the entirety of the tournament. Now,
right.
it's common counter pick, or the common pick that goes usually into it is the Lilia, which up until recently was seeing pretty much 100% pick and ban rate. How do you feel about that champion? Good pick, bad pick, worth banning? What's your take on it?
I think Lilia's fine. I don't think she's like. I think she's in that top tier of junglers, like Eve, like Hecarim, like even like Set and Volley. Even though I think Volibear's kind of on the way down in terms of jungles, but it's because she scales really well. When she gets her jungle item, she no one can beat her in terms of clear speed. She's really safe. Her ganks are really easy. You just run up, run in, Q them, and then ult them, and then then they die.
Really?
Yeah.
And so I think, and plus I think even with Hecarim and Lily, you can build a lot of comps around them, or is really strong.
Is he sounding robotic to y'all?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
his connection's dying, I think.
Yeah.
No, there he goes.
Oh.
He's phasing in and out of reality.
Mr. Roboto.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Uh-oh.
Just DC'd.
Yep.
All right, well, while Zoodiac is dead, KoiPhish, what you got? You sounded like you weren't too happy about the Lilia pick.
To be honest, I think
perfect. It might be coming a view bot.
You're so robotic.
Yeah.
You just came. There you go. You just came back.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Okay, sorry.
Welcome back.
Sorry about that. The view bots were taking over.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it. It's like Lilia literally has a 31% win rate. And from the teams that pick Lilia, right, they've all lost. At least the only team that I saw do really well with them was Oceania. You know, like that was it. The LGC Legacy Esports, right? They were the only team that I saw them. Oh, there he goes.
Oh, there he goes.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Now, do you think that that's because it's the caliber of the teams playing it? Do you think that this is an issue of familiarity and skill on the champion, or do you feel like it's just overall the champion is really not worth playing or getting in the draft?
In my opinion, it's not worth it.
Okay.
I think her kit is really good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think her kit is really good, right? Like the massive CC, the fact that her ult and her cooldowns are really low. The movement speed is really nice too. But also at the same time, it's like, what else does she do? You have to land all your skill shots. You have to be up and close and personal to like hit them with to hit them with your skill shots, right? To get them to go to sleep, to feel drowsy or whatever, right? And you're squishy as hell, right? I just don't think she's good. I think if you personally for me, I think if you do play her, I think you just have to have like a really two really tanky players, and like you just have to make sure your mid laners are fed. But I think the shots that I've been seeing her being played with are like 2 tanks in the mid and bot lane.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think like mostly like Set or Galio or something, or Malphite, and Poppy, right? Or Volibear or whatever. And then you just it just doesn't look good to me. Like that's just me though.
Hey, he's back. He's alive.
Hey.
Okay, we're good. We're good. Sorry.
Welcome back.
Yeah,
the U-bots tried destroying my Wi-Fi.
I just don't think that Lilia is just a good champion. I think she's decent champion. I just don't think that she should be a priority pick or a priority ban. I think people should just let her, just let her go. And I've only seen one team really do well with Lilia. It's not, and so far it's just because it's so far it's just it just doesn't look like a good character. I kind of wish Yone was being played though instead of Lilia.
Yeah, same.
I don't think Yone is available on this patch on Worlds.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's disabled.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he is.
disabled, but I
Which
kind
is
of
good. I don't want to see any teams getting destroyed by Yone.
But yeah, like I think the jungle meta right now, I think it's gonna be. I think it's very open, right? I think mid lane wise, I think Orianna is the secret pick that
Yeah.
that I really like.
Bringing up one of the holy trinity as coined by Kadril and by Quickshot. Just as a reminder for those watching, the holy trinity right now is Orianna, Graves, Ornn. Under no circumstances should any team let one team get all three of them. If they do, I would argue that should be reportable. Because all three of those champions are busted.
I would like to throw one thing in there, though. In terms, when you talk about mid lane, I was actually kind of shocked. I don't think we saw a ton of Akali or LeBlanc.
No.
And those two champions are really strong right now. Like Akali, LeBlanc, and even Silas, if you're looking for like a fighter mid laner, are just I think those are the three laners that can pressure the Orianna the most, and no one's playing them. And I really don't understand why. Yeah, we could see them be pulled out, but yet I haven't seen them.
I think it's just because it's mostly LeBlanc works. I'm a LeBlanc one trick. The reason why I don't see, at least for me, I don't see it happening is just because of the fact that Orin exists, Set exists.
Yeah, that's true.
Tanks tanks right now, like being the meta, like it doesn't matter whether you're in mid lane and you're going up against Set. If Set gets that one item, right, he's tanky enough to 1v1 a LeBlanc who's 3 items ahead.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I think tanks are just too strong.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Jockey, how are you feeling about the picks so far in the tournament?
I'm liking them so far, except for, like, Lily, like you've been saying. Like, Lily, I think people have had time to play her and play against her, so I don't think that she should be as big of a prio for most people because people have probably figured out, like, how to counter it. And I think we'll be seeing a lot of Graves, especially during this time because, like you said, Graves is very strong with Ornn and Orianna. And what was interesting for me was that we also saw Orianna and Swain in the bot lane being played. So I'm curious if we'll see. You're excited
Zoodiac's
about that.
happy about that.
Yeah. So I'm curious.
I'm a huge. Oh, go ahead.
I'm curious if we're going to see.
I'll jump in after this.
I'm just curious to see if we're going to be seeing any more bot lane mages because, like, especially I think if anyone can do that in the group stage, it's going to be Perks. He's going to pull out. He'd be the one to pull out a mage in the bot lane. But overall, I'm thinking that we could maybe be seeing more bot lane mages. Like,
so what bot lane mages do you expect to see down there?
I think the Orianna from URL was really good. I think I want to see more, maybe Orianna in the bot lane, and maybe Syndra, but I don't know since she got nerfed a little bit. I think she should probably stay in the mid lane. I think maybe Cassio, but I think for the most part, I think Swain should be a big prio for the bot lane because he is tank. He is tanky. He has self-sustain with his passive and with his ultimate. So I think if anyone wants to play a bot lane mage, they need to prioritize Swain because he can be a monster if he gets ahead.
I'm a huge proponent of Swain bot, especially right now, because right now probably the best support pick is Pantheon because
interesting.
They attack Pantheon at level 1.
Let's discuss that for a minute. So one of the big things coming out from the LCK and from North America was emphasis on Pantheon in the bot lane as a support. Now, admittedly, LCK not in the play-in, so we don't get to see their take on it. But we have seen virtually no Pantheon. Certainly not in the support lane or really in any pick. So I'm interested to see why you guys think that is that we're not seeing Pantheon, especially from regions or teams like, Team Liquid or teams like UOL or, a scrappy team like Legacy. And how come that pick has kind of gone unnoticed?
I think it's probably... Oh, you go ahead.
So what I will say for Pantheon is that Pantheon needs to thrive in the early game, which is why I was saying, I was talking with a friend the other day, I think the LPL should be the teams that pick up Pantheon, because those are the ones who want to fight the most, who want to snowball this early game. And Pantheon probably out damages almost every support level 2 whenever he has his stun and Q. And plus in most bot lanes, once you take PTA, it'll help your bot laner deal a ton more damage. Or if you're like me, you play Swain Pantheon. So at level 2, if the ADC's ever out of position, they die. Because Swain's burst damage at level 2 combined with Pantheon's is just nuts.
Yeah.
And so, like...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Koi.
Like, I played a game today against Swain in bot lane. I was 20 minutes into the game. I barely had my first item. It's hard to lane against. It's like, especially if you have like teams like supports, especially who, when you have Bard and like Blitzcrank who are wanting to roam, right? Or etc. Like Leona, right? Like the Nautilus. Like especially how the game is played is where right now 80 carries are being left by themselves in bot lane. Supports are gonna roam up to mid, jungle, top lane to go help out the rest of the team while the 80 carry farms into late game, right? If you have something like, for example, I saw Orianna Swain, you can't really lane against it. You're just gonna have to sit back in tower and watch them take your tower one by one.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping, I'm really hoping that mages don't come back in bot lane, but it doesn't necessarily stop it, from happening. For all I know, G2 is probably going to bring out Alistar.
Dude, there ain't no pit. I'm not even going to try and predict what they're going to play, dude. I'm sorry. Speaking of Alistar, can we talk about Phase Rush Alistar? I am so tired of seeing Phase Rush Alistar, and I'm so tired of having to play against it. Ever since, I don't know who started that in this play-in stage, but ever since somebody started that, that is all I see Alistar's playing now. Like, Alistar has appeared so much in my solo queue with Phase Rush. I am so tired of getting ganked mid by a random Alistar that nobody pinged, and he's got Phase Rush, and he just runs in like a million miles an hour and kills you, and there's no counterplay because of the stun and Phase Rush. He runs under your tower, stuns you, and runs away. It's the most passive-aggressive, just annoying playstyle I've ever seen, and every Alistar is doing it. Can we please publicly condemn taking Phase Rush on Alistar? I am so tired of that rune.
So one thing I also think is kind of funny is now that UOL has brought up Orianna bot, technically if you, in your first 3 picks, you could have, if you go Set, Shen, and then Orianna, which I don't know how you get those 3, but let's say you do, you're not revealing anything because Shen and Set are Shen's a triple flex.
So is
Set's
Set.
A quadruple flex.
Yeah, Set's a quadruple flex.
Set's a quadruple flex because you can go top, jungle, mid, and support. And Orianna can now be played bot.
Or mid.
Isn't League of Legends just so much fun?
So it's interesting you bring up the flexes because there's a lot. It seems like this world there's been just so much more flexibility in the ability to draft. Of course, a lot of this is regional flavor. Some of this is, maybe player flavor. But one of the things I want to bring up is looking at the total number of champions played and picked. There have been 71, just in the play-in stage, 71 unique champions played. And we have everything from Aatrox to Ziggs.
Yeah.
Take on that. Good, bad, interesting, not interesting, kind of trolling?
It's great.
It's great?
It's
okay.
Great. Because the more variance that you see, the better the product. Like, UOL played Vayne mid.
Yeah.
And it worked. Like, people want to see crazy picks that work.
Yep.
Like, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a Yasuo comp in here. And honestly, I'd be all for it.
Yeah.
Because, like, if it fails, you're like, haha, into Yasuo. But, like...
if it wins...
If it wins, you're like, oh, wait a minute.
That was some big brain.
It's that solo queue Yasuo.
And teams are like more now like willing to try, I think they are at least willing to try these things out in like scrims and see like, hey, is this working? Is this not working? Mm-hmm. Like You know, I mean, I'm happy because Jin's being played. I know you probably want to see Malzahar. I mean,
Dude, I'm never gonna see that champion again. It got its one time in the sun to like piss off Faker, and that was it. That's it. Unless Faker's
Yeah.
playing, nobody plays Malzahar.
yeah, like I'm
sad.
happy Jin's being played, but like the more unique champions, the better because
Yeah.
it's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree with that because when you have more champions play, you have bigger variants of what teams want to play. You get a perspective into what kind of play style they have, and really hope we see more crazy picks coming back because it's all a lot more fun. That gives me flashbacks to like the past two worlds because those 2018, 2019 worlds, like those were all based on flex, like flexing the picks, and we're seeing that coming back again. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit more crazy this time.
Koi,
Yeah.
what's your opinion on that one?
I just want a normal game of League. I just want.
That is not gonna happen, dude.
I just want a normal jungler. I missed when Graves was still considered an AD carry. I missed when Lucian was supposed to be in bot lane. But you know what? Like, they decided Senna's an AD carry now, and it's just, I just want a normal game of League, man.
You want to be able to watch a game and know what to expect, and not why is there a Wukong bot lane?
Because honestly, if you really ask me, like, it's just kind of like I hate Senna AD carry.
Okay, why is that?
Personally, for me, like it's just kind of. She's supposed to be a support, but she has damage. I don't like supports who have damage. I never liked Pike when he first came out. I never liked the who was it? I never liked Morgana either. Obviously, her CCs and her Lux either. Like those are damage supports, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me at least, like solo queue wise, obviously solo queue versus pro play is very different, but like solo queue wise, it's always been like, I hear this. I did more damage than the AD carry. Well, yeah, you did more damage than the AD carry, but that's because you weren't peeling for me and you were just taking my kills. You know, like I can't do anything with that. You know, like, to me, I just want a normal game of League where I can see an actual AD carry and their mechanics. I think the only reason, and this is just my personal opinion, G2 Perks is not a good AD carry. It just so happens that there are a lot of good mid lane champions that are good in bot lane. That is just my personal opinion.
Okay.
I don't think there's any reason for a Double Lift or Reckless to ever lose to them because these guys are longtime AD carry players, right? And they're losing to a guy who just changed lanes. That it's not possible. You know, or it shouldn't be possible, right? It's those kind of picks that to me at least like I just want the AD carry mains to thrive. And for me right now, like Tactical, there's a reason why I'm a really big fan of Tactical and why I'm hoping is because this dude is playing out of his mind. Even the past, like even during the split, right? This Tactical has been playing out of his mind, and I hope Double Lift and Reckless and Jackie Love and all these other AD carries show up to actually prove that they're not just a secondary carry anymore. You know, like I want them to be the main carry. But the game is like the meta to me has been all early game. Don't worry about late game. You know, and every time I see Senna on the team, it's like, well, here's the jungler carrying with an AD carry again. You know, so
yeah,
that's just me.
So you bring it up. Like, so you brought up the meta. I think for me, the one of the things I noticed when you look at the champions that have been picked all across the board for play-ins, I think one of the things you look at when you see these champions, you're seeing a lot of Renekton, Camille. You're seeing some Vladimir in there, but it's mostly Renekton, Camille, Ornn. I mean, you know, occasional Shin in there, just, you know, some stuff like, you know, maybe a Scion here and there, but mostly it's Shin, Renekton, Ornn, Camille. I think one of the things I'm seeing with that too is you look at the junglers that they're getting paired with. You know, things like Kindred. Mostly the Kindred is an LGD thing, but you're seeing Grays and Nidalee, a little bit of Lilia here and there. I think for me, what it's kind of showing for the meta right now is that it is super top jungle oriented in terms of being able to get early pressure and not have a weak side weak side top laner, and then playing around your mid jungle synergy to slingshot that solo laner ahead to get the split push threat, and then just snowballing that around the rift. I haven't really seen anything else that's kind of been outside of that. TL definitely showed that about, even when Impact is playing weak side, it never really looks like he's weak side, because especially now, I think this is partially due to the caliber of players he's playing against. Like, he's not, in my opinion, playing against anybody that can challenge him, and hasn't so far in the tournament. So I think it's definitely a difference of experience. Like, you have a literal world champion versus some dude.
Someone.
Yeah, some dude.
Yeah, versus someone new, the first time at World.
And
By the way, Impact, no matter, even in the game that they lost, he itemized so well.
Yes.
Like, it was, I think Ellis was like saying like that Impact's the only person he can never flame about itemization, because he's just so good at it.
I think, hey, sweet, we have a brand new follower. That is Memersticks. Congratulations, Memersticks. Thanks for following. Appreciate that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Be sure to stick around and see what else we're talking about. We got a lot more spicy content to come. KoiPhish is going to get mad about some of what we're going to talk about in the next segment, so be sure to stick around for that. Going off that, I do agree. I think items. Talking about itemization. So part of the meta has been, and this has been a huge thing, and I know a lot of people complain about this, about the itemization having such a big part of the way games are won. I'm interested to see what you guys think about, are items too much of an important part of a champion build? Is it really player champion skill? Or, is, Shen getting, a Ravenous Hydra just, or a Titanic Hydra just the end of the game? Like, which, by the way, that item is still busted. Not downplaying that at all. Shin with Titanic Hydra is GG. But,
So I think that, it kind of goes both ways in that some champions, their kit just makes them good.
Mm-hmm.
Like Akali's kit. Akali's kit makes her good. Like, I'm not gonna even stretch it, right? But other champions like items, it just gives you more power, so that when you have the option to choose to go like with the 100% of what you can do, and you choose to like not do that, I think that's why people like LS and like even I am now, like, it's kind of like these are things that you have to like think about, and a lot of them just go with feel. Like, there are games where there's like no self-healing on the enemy team, and like everyone buys Morellos. And then you'll have Raka, Set, Senna, like all these champions that can heal and all that, and I was like, Grievous Wounds, not really necessary. We just do more damage. Like, it just kind of like, when you actually start to realize that like items do make a difference. Like, the difference between the flat magic pen of a Morello's Nomicons with Grievous Wounds compared to the max health burn on Leandri's, especially when that's who you're going to be hitting.
He's about to start the Leandri's versus Morello argument.
I mean, I'm not going to start that, but like, it's things that like players need to like think about in terms of like how they build. And again, I don't know everything about every single item. I don't know the math. I'm not a math major. I don't enjoy doing that. But like, I think items do matter, and I think that players that itemize properly should be recognized.
Yeah.
Interesting. Jockey?
That going off of what he says, like, that's also sort of what I do. Sort of what I do. And the viewers at home, me and Zoodiac are interns with Dignitas writing League of Legends articles. And whenever I write my guides on certain champions, when I get to the item section, I'm like, okay, starter items, build Doran's Rings or Doran's Blade, that kind of stuff. Build the 2 main items, and then the rest you adapt to the team you're going up against. Like if they have healing, self-healing, go Morellos. If they have a lot of magic resist, go Void Staff. It's like every person needs to itemize past their 2 main items to go up against the team or go against the playstyle they're going up against. So item changing and modification is something that these something that the players really should think about when they're going into these games. But yeah.
Interesting. Koi, I see you're nodding your head up there on the top right. What you
Yeah.
got?
Honestly, I think it kind of depends on what the champion and what the champion's supposed to do in the for the team. You know, I think like for example, Nidalee is one of those solo queue build versus like support build, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think in a game like in a game in pro play, you play. I don't care how much damage you do as Nidalee, right? You build support, right? I believe Jose Dodo play the first time they picked Nidalee, right? I think it was Jose Dodo, or it was either Legacy. He missed every single one of his spears. I counted. Me and my friend were talking about. He literally missed every single one of his spears, and like I was like, "What is he? What is this guy doing?" And he's building damage, right? Like, why build the damage if you can't land a skill shot, right?
Yeah.
Like, you might as well just pick support, so that way whenever your ADK is about to get blown up by something, you heal him up like basically all of his health back, right? So to me, it's one of those things where like that right there could have like it's those little itemizations. Those itemizations very very important in high level pro play.
Like it's also understanding the state of the game. Like you were saying, like if you're Jose Diodo and you're saying, okay, I'm not hitting my spears, like I'm off today, like why are you building damage? Because if you're building more damage, but you can't actually land your damage, like
why
items are worthless then?
Why build a Lich Bane
those items when
you
worthless.
could build Athena's, like an Ardent Censer?
Athene's, and like it's not even like Athene's isn't a good item. Athene's is broken.
Yeah.
Like the amount of healing that you can provide someone is just insane with Athene's.
It really is.
Players refuse to build it. Even on like champs like Orianna, I've seen some pros like third item Athene's because it's such a good item. It gives Ori more utility as if she doesn't have enough. And like, if you have a Twitch and you have a Rakan, hey, why not give Twitch more shields and heals? Like, things like that.
Sounds boosted.
Yeah.
Like,
aren't they also like getting rid of it though? Are they getting rid of the theme?
I'm
not sure.
Thank God.
I mean, that's a different topic. That's later.
At the end of to round this little segment here out, I have 3 fun little trivia questions. I'm going to ask. It's going to be universal answer, so you can all submit your own answer, and then I will give you the answer to each question. There are 3 questions. This is all about champions, so let's see how well you've been paying attention to the playing stage. As you all said before the stream, and I quote, "Dude, I watched every minute of every game. I've got so much to talk about. Holy shit!" All right, first trivia question. The answer to this one may or may not be surprising, depending on whether or not you've been paying close attention. So, what is the most banned champion in play-in stage?
Banned.
I want
to say Akali. Like just off the top of my head, I've seen Akali banned so much.
Okay, we've got an Akali.
Damn.
We got someone in chat guessing too. All right, so
I think
Zoodiac
Lucian
says Akali. Koi, what do you say? Lucian. Okay.
Yeah.
Jockey.
It's either that or Ornn, because Ornn's been banned a lot too.
Yeah. I think I'll take Ornn. I was going to say Lilia, but Ornn, because he's...
Man, the 2 interns from Dig couldn't get it, but the guy in chat could. The most banned champion is Nidalee.
All right.
She has been banned 22 times.
Wow.
She actually beat out Lilia. But actually, a couple champions started beating out Lilia. So the 3 most banned champions in the game are Nidalee, Orianna, and Ornn. So you were a little close, but I can't believe the guy in chat got a daggum. They'll make anybody interns these days.
Dang.
All right, I'm totally just playing, guys. All right, next question. What is the highest winning champion in the game currently. So win rate, the champion that has the highest win rate in the game right now.
Graves.
Like in terms of play-ins?
In terms of play-ins. The play-ins and knockouts total, because the data I have is cumulative for both of them. So far in the tournament, what champion is the highest win rate champion?
Graves.
I'd say Graves. I'm agreeing.
Wait. Depending on how many bans?
No. The number of times a champion has been played, and then how many times it's lost and won. So the sample size is the entirety of the tournament so far. So out of all the champions that have been played so far in it, which champion has the highest win rate?
Technically Vayne, because Vayne has 100%.
Well, actually, I was gonna say Cassidy, because technically.
Okay, so we'll put a caveat. So we'll put that's been played more than one game. So champion has been played more than one game. So I
feel like it's either between Oriana or Ornn.
So I would say if we're talking about the highest rate highest win rate in terms of highest pick rate, I'd say Graves. But if we're talking about more than just one game, Cassidy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think that. Yeah, I think that just depends. On the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the question.
Best champion, don't you know she has 100% win rate in Worlds?
All right, Jockey.
I'm gonna stick to Graves.
Okay, Graves. Well, Zoodiac got it. It is Cassidy. And says the viewer in chat, it is Cassidy.
Yeah,
now, the only thing I want to preface.
Now,
the only thing I want to preface is this: if we're talking about multiple games, there is an argument with the number of games played that Ornn actually has a higher percent win rate because Ornn is 10-1. Cassidy is technically undefeated at 3-0, but there is an argument for Ornn because he is 10-1. Yes. All right, gentlemen, that leads us to the last segment. Now, again, preface to champions that have been played more than once. Which champion has the lowest percentage win rate out of picks?
Oh, that's literally
out of picks. KoiPhish says Lilia. Okay, so KoiPhish says Lilia.
I want to say.
Oh wait, no. Can I change my answer? I just realized something.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, I think Evelyn, bro.
Evelyn? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, actually.
Evelyn.
Actually, yeah, Evelyn.
Okay, so you all say Evelyn.
Shadow's Evelyn.
Viewer says only if your shadow Eve. Interesting. So you all say Evelyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, you are going to be very sad to know that Koi, you had it right the first time. It is Lilia at 5-11. Would you like to know something that's going to blow your mind about Evelyn? She has a winning win rate. What? She is 2-1 in the tournament.
Well, I swear to God, I could more Evelyn, dude.
Shadow was the one loss.
So the viewer in chat gets it again because he guessed Lilia before anybody guessed. Mirror Sticks is on a roll.
I was debating if I wanted to pick Lilia too, but after hearing us talk about Evelyn and how bad Shadow.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
well, okay, to be fair, I did know Lilia had literally a 31% rate. Which, and I said it earlier too. Why are people picking him? Right? It's not a good champion to me. A 31% win rate at Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
5-11. Not a good record for any team looking to pick that champion. Yeah. Man, the viewer chat is on a roll. He has guessed it. He or she has guessed it every time. That's fantastic. All right, we're going to move on to the next part of the show. We're going to move on to the group stage predictions. So this is probably the part that most people were here to see. Most people are going to want to focus on when they watch this. So we're going to get the spicy hot takes right now. So, gentlemen, I'm going to start with Jockey. What are your group stage predictions and how? We'll start with this. What's your reaction to the way that the groups have formed up? So the way that the team placements have gone. Let's get some predictions on the stage. And just as a reminder. So Group A is G2, Machi Esports, Sunning, and Team Liquid. Group B is Damwon Gaming, JD Gaming, PSG Talent, and Rogue. Group C is Fnatic, Gen.G, PSG, and Team Solomid. And then Group D is DRX, FlyQuest, Top Esports, and Unicorns of Love. So, gentlemen, starting with Jockey, I want to get your reactions to the group, and then so we're going to start with Group A. Jockey, your reaction to the way that group is shaped out, and then your predictions.
All right, so Group A, I think in this Worlds is the group of life, honestly.
Okay.
I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how Suning does at the world stage, and the two players I really want to really want to see shine is SOFM, and I think it's pronounced Huang Fong in their bot lane. I really want to see how those two perform on the world stage because SOFM is a really good jungler, especially with the way he itemizes Lee Sin, because he doesn't do damage items like most Lee Sin does. He builds Knight's Vow, Warmogs, he plays Lee Sin like a frontliner. So I'm really interested in seeing how that does against teams like G2 and Team Liquid. I think that Machi is going to also be interesting, seeing how they do after watching how good PSG did in the play-in stage. And I think I'm pretty sure right now G2 and TL are just giving each other the death stare at this point because it's like they're like, okay, one of us is going to get out. It's a fight to the death. So who's going to get out of this group?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm honestly really excited to see how those two play in this group. And I would think in my predictions, I actually had G2 and TL both actually getting out of groups because I think Suning is a good team, but I'm gonna go back to LGD for a minute because like how bad they did in best of ones. The way the LPL is only played is they're played in best of threes, so they're not really used to playing in a best of one kind of scenario. So after seeing how bad LGD did in their plans, I'm a little curious to seeing if the other LPL teams like Suning and JD may follow in the same path because remember like last year during the group stages at Worlds, like RNG, they didn't get out. FPX barely scraped a first place seed in Group B, and in a group where it was supposedly free with Splice, J Team, and GAM in there. So, and what was the other LPL team? Invictus Gaming. They got out first, well, because they were the Passable Chambers, and they basically kept the same roster. But I'm gonna be really interested in seeing how the other LPL teams. But in this group, I think that Suning will do okay, but it'll
But you
be
don't have
interesting
them
to see.
getting out.
No, I don't, because you have Team Liquid who have veteran Worlds players and Broxa, Jensen, um, Core JJ, and Impact, and you have G2 who are coming back to Worlds with the same roster they had with last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the experience that those two teams have had in past Worlds will give them advantage over Suning, which is a brand new team going into the World stage.
Okay. All right, Koi. Let's talk about Group A. What you got?
So I actually have Team Liquid and G2 taking it. Machi Spurts third and Sunning fourth.
Okay, interesting.
So the reason why is, and like you said, we have G2 Esports the same roster as last year. Despite the fact that they look really bad during the season for them, I think once it gets to that like clutch time, right, especially when World comes around, they step up big time.
Yeah.
Remember, like how I said last time, like as long as they're not going up against a Chinese team, G2 will win. Like that's I did like from the we predicted I predicted at least G2 to win a Fnatic. I think they're gonna step up here again. Team Liquid, I just don't see them losing to Sunny. Um, Machi Esports, I think, are I don't know much about the PCS still. I think they could maybe take second place,
Mm-hmm.
right, over Team Liquid, but
So
I
that
still
team.
see.
So sorry,
Hmm?
just to interrupt you. So that team is comprised of PK, Gemini, Mission, Bruce, and Koala from top down the
Yeah,
bot.
yeah. I don't know anything about them.
Okay,
I've never even heard of them. So
that's
like,
fair.
it's gonna be interesting. Now like as for the sunning, right? I do want to bring up the point that LGD is what we're like their play style and is what we're gonna see from the rest of the Chinese, right? But I think people have to realize that LGD does not show what the rest of the region is capable of,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because teams like Top Esports and JD Gaming are way far beyond what LGD is. They make fewer mistakes compared to what LGD does.
Gotcha.
So the way I see it is like if you were to put a number between 1 to 100, LGD is at 100, right? Then a couple layers above that, around like 50, that's where Sunning is at, and then about another 100 49 levels above is Top Esports and JD Gaming. There is a stack, right? So to me, I think Sunny and LGD are kind of near the same, but I don't expect them. I still expect Team Liquid to topple.
So you're saying there's a massive power gap that increases between each team.
Yes,
So the gap
for
between
each team.
Machi or between Sunning and LGD isn't necessarily that high, but the difference between like a top esports and LGD is a massive.
It's a massive one. It's like
Yeah.
I don't expect like if what everyone is thinking that like, oh, because LGD, like the only thing that LGD has besides Peanut, right, is their legacy of that name.
Gotcha.
That is all that
Yeah.
that's the only reason why LGD has, everyone thinks that LGD is so good, is because of the past experience that LGD has gone and the number of players and top players that they've had before, right? But it's just that Top Esports and JD Gaming are so far beyond what LGD Gaming could do. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like that's just at least what I see. We cannot. I would not say that Top Esports or JD Gaming are not gonna win their groups either. But we'll talk about that later, though, right?
Alrighty. All right, Zoodiac, what you got?
So I think for Group A, I mean, the way I had it is G2TL, Sunning, and Machi.
Okay.
And it's not that I don't think Sunning can't get out. It's just one of those things where I just need to see, because again, Worlds is a different beast than the LPL playoffs. And plus TL showed a lot. I mean, they look really good in play-ins. They look kind of what we expected them to look like. So, I mean, I don't really have any further insight. I think G2 and TL are the two best teams in this group in terms of talent. I think that TL Jat is going to probably have them ready, and I think they have a really good grip on what's meta right now. And I don't know. I've heard some scrim leaks that Sunning has got absolutely clapped by some teams. Like when they played Fnatic, like two people on Fnatic had plus 10 kills in the game. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, this is the first time we're going to see Sunning on the international stage. And, so, again, until they show me, I'm saying TLG2.
Okay.
Oh, G2 in that order.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to Group B then. So we're going to start this one off. KoiPhish, what you got for your Group B?
Oh, you already know. Damwon, JD Gaming, and number one, PSG might put up a fight against JD Gaming, and obviously Rogue. Sorry, Rogue, that's a group of death to me.
Yeah.
That is 100%. At first I thought it was going to be like, oh, well, PSG or whatever wild card and Rogue enter, and whatever team goes into Group B, 100% are just going to go straight home.
So just to interject here real quick, I did see that our lovely viewer here, Memer Sticks, did in fact link their group picks. And Zoodiac, they are in complete alignment with you with G2, Team Liquid, Sunning, and Machi. So it looks like you've got someone in your corner on that one. All right.
Like PSG, I think to me, once they joined that group, I was like, oh, okay, this group is far more competitive. Like,
Got you.
It is. I think they'll be able to take maybe one game against M1, maybe two against JD, and see what the tiebreakers are going to end up being.
But you feel like this group is kind of done and dusted.
Yeah, basically. I think 100% though, Damwon Gaming gets out, JD Gaming comes second, and then PSG might put up a fight, but will be sent home either way.
All right, Jockey, what you got?
Yeah, going on with him, like Damwon and JD, I think they're going to get up pretty easily. PSG, I think they're, like they said, they'll pull off an upset or two, I think. But Rogue, I think Rogue is just going to be the punching bag for these three teams in this group. Like, and it sucks that it's their first time at Worlds and they get stuck with a group of death. Like, it sucks, but
someone had to do it.
Yeah, someone has to be the sacrifice,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it had to
Thank
be
God it
Rogue.
was a TSM.
but yeah, I think that it'll be Damwon JD easily getting out, but the question is, who will be getting out first, and I keep going back and forth between which one will get first because Damwon, like they're the first Korean seed, they have really good players, Nuggery, Showmaker. I think it's the same roster from Worlds last year, if I remember correctly. But it'll be interesting. Oh, okay. All right. So I think it'll be really interesting seeing those two go up against each other, seeing which one will take the first seed and move on. Because I think that if JD get that first seed, then Demon should be nervous about who they could possibly get in first seed in another group, like Top Esports, for example, if they get first. More on that later.
All right, Zodiac, you got anything controversial to say, or are you just riding the bandwagon here?
Yeah, I mean, what are we gonna say? Larson is gonna suddenly become at the level of Showmaker. is like I don't even know who. I'm trying to look up. Yeah, like, are we gonna say that Inspired is gonna be on the same level as Kanavi? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Now
credit where credit is due. They did finish first in the LEC, so I know they didn't win the finals or anything, but they did finish first.
But yeah. What I will say is I think PSG is probably going to finish above Rogue because, I mean, like I said, they looked awesome in the groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think Danwon's probably going to be 1 and JD is going to be 2, but JD is going to be the 1-2 seed that you don't want to play because Kanavi is just so good. Like, oh my god, he's the one dude. Like, he just does things with champions in the jungle that you just go like, damn.
Yeah.
To quote Cajal, it's illegal gameplay.
It's literally no flame jungle diff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Danwon's going to win the group. I think Showmaker Nuggery is just way too good of a solo lane combo.
But it sounds like you're all in agreement that if any upset does happen, it's going to come from PSG.
Probably will. I mean, who knows? You know, it's Worlds for a reason. Everyone's picks are going to be screwed over because I guarantee you there's going to be that one person whose picks got destroyed because Rogue decided to actually pop up and show off and knock Damwon Gaming out. You know, who knows, right? But like, it just really
that's a whole nother scenario. Like if we come back in like a weekend, like in a few days or something, and Damwon's been eliminated from the tournament, that's a whole nother conversation we're gonna be having.
Now, I will say this though, like Faker is not this Worlds. I remember Worlds 2018, Korea like didn't do that hot. So, just saying.
No, I do want to bring up one thing, and actually thank from Emersticks, the persistent viewer we have here. Thank you for that. He did bring up that Kongwei Echo will smurf to get out of groups. How do you guys feel about that? Maybe not necessarily Echo, but how do you guys feel about Kongwei?
I mean, Kongwei is probably I don't want to say. I think he's on the level. From what I've seen from play-in stage of Canyon, like not talent-wise, I mean Canyon's an amazing jungler, but Kongwei, he's on that level with PSG. Like he does everything PSG asked him to, and then some. It's like in this group you have Kanavi, who's probably the best jungler in Worlds right now.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Canyon and I'm gonna butcher his name, but PSG's jungler. And then you have Inspired.
It's like you have that, Inspired. And then you've got Inspired off to the side.
Yeah,
like it's. Let me just say, this group stage is going to be really rough for Inspired because everyone. I'm pretty sure everyone can out jungle.
Everyone's gonna out jungle the hell out of it.
Yeah, he is out sometimes.
It's just I just don't see Rogue ever doing anything. I think if they're gonna win, it might probably be because of their bot lane.
Mm-hmm.
But I even then, like, bot lane's kind of useless right now too. You know, they're probably just gonna pick Senna, and even if you pick Ashe or Caitlyn or whatever 80 carry exists, Senna's always gonna be a little bit better than that. You know, like.
Interesting. Yeah. So it sounds I think everyone's. It sounds like you guys are all universal across the board on that pick. So looks like that group is kind of set in stone then, and we'll see in a couple of days how it shakes out. All right, we're gonna move on to Group C. Just a reminder: Fnatic, Gen G, LGD, and Team Solo Mid. So Zoodiac, let's start with you. How do you feel about this group? I'm suspecting this group is gonna have the most variance out of the picks here.
Yeah, definitely.
So Zoodiac, what you got?
I know we like the meme group of death, but this is honestly the group of death because any team can get out. You know what I mean, like this is a group that you don't want to draw because you could get first or you could get last.
Got you.
Like personally, I have Gen G, Fnatic, TSM, LGD. I think TSM's third because again, it's like something I need to see it. I need to TSM do something in the international state before I buy in to them. LGD, again, they look really disappointing, and I wasn't really impressed by them 3-0ing wildcard teams because it's like, okay, that's what I expected you to do. You know what I mean?
Kind of expected that from the onset.
I'm not going to be impressed by something I should expect you to do. I think that Gen G, Ruler, and BDD, I mean, those are the stars for Gen G. I think Ruler's maybe the best AD carry, other than Jackie Love.
Oh, this viewer is spitting straight fire in his chat. I don't know what you guys know what he's saying here in a minute, but this viewer has got some opinions. I'll get your takes first, and I'll hit you with what he's saying. This is some hot fire takes. And it's actually not the first time I've heard this, but it's actually one of the first times I've heard people kind of go around and saying this. And this is interesting. Sorry to interrupt you guys again. I keep forgetting this. Namer Sticks kind of picks our lovely viewer here. His picks were along the same as y'all's with Damwon, JD, PSG, and Talon. And Rogue kind of in that order, so no variance there. Sorry to interrupt you, Zoodiac. So again, you're saying that it's kind of you need to see some play from this team in order to kind of.
Yeah, and for Fnatic, there has to be something said about Day 2 Fnatic buff. Day 2 Fnatic on group stage is probably better than every single world champion because they're literally unstoppable on Day 2. It doesn't matter if they're 0-20 on the group stage, like if that's even possible. They'll just somehow get out.
Okay. So what's your stack? Do you think Fnatic comes first? Do you think Gen G comes first? Assuming
I think Gen G's going to be first because I think Gen G plays really clean, and I think they may split with Fnatic because Fnatic will do really good things and then run it down. They'll explore the option of diving between inner and next and inhibitor. Like they did against G2. I'm looking at you, Selfie. I'm looking at you. But I think
the term that was used was coin flippy.
Yeah. But I think that Fnatic, they just have so much experience. Like it doesn't matter if they go down in the group. They always know because they've done it before that they could come back and get out. And you know, this is Broken Blades and Spica's first time. And let's not sit here and act like Spica has just like suddenly become Kanavi.
Interesting.
You know, sorry, NA fans, but I don't think TSM.
But don't you know, Spica is the coming of the new jungler goat?
Right.
Come on.
You know, Spica got nearly lessons from Mike Young. You know.
I'm not sure if that's flame or a compliment. Oh no. All right, Koi, what you got for your picks in this group?
So I actually have Fnatic, like you said, Fnatic. Day 2 Fnatic is really good. I actually have TSM at second, getting out. It's not a regional bias. I just think I watch a lot of Gen G. Like Gen G, yes, they're good players, but they're also really lucky. Like there's no
interesting. Okay.
I personally, for me, I just think they got lucky with how the regional finals is. They're lucky that everybody on SKT but Faker fed the entire time, and that their LCK is like hey, look, I'm a Korean supremacist, right? Like I think LCK is the top dog in all over in general, right? But like you just have to admit it that like T1's drafting was the only reason why crappy drafting was the only reason why Gen G made it to Worlds.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and so
I think that's fair.
Yeah, so to me, Gen G is like it's not like they have bad players. Think I just don't think compared to if TSM plays the way that T like TSM like what NA teams do, right? And they don't try to copy Gen G, they don't try to copy the Chinese teams, right? Like they'll be fine, right? And the like I think they'll get out of groups easily.
So you're saying that TSM will kind of catch them in the draft.
Yeah, and like I said before, right? Like I said before about how I said about China, like JD Gaming and Top Esports are at another way beyond like levels compared to what Gen G is, right? It's the same with this Gen G. SKT to me is actually should have been at that top level, right? But because of their coaching staff and how they drafted, right? Gen G is just happens to be there, you know. But there's a big gap between Gen G and DRX
Dragon.
and Dem, Dragon and like Demon, right? There's a huge gap, right? So to me, that's the way I see it. I think LGD takes last, obviously, for how they played in the season, played in play-ins, and how they're kind of they make too many mistakes. If even in the games against R7 play-ins and even in play-ins, right? There was still there's still so many mistakes that R7 could have almost came back, or V3 could have came back, or what do you call it? LGC Legacy Esports almost came back, right? But because near the end, it's like the other team made their mistakes and LGD capitalized on it, right? They managed to get out. I think it's going to be different here where Fnatic, Gen G, Team Solomid won't make as much mistakes as LGD will, and they will capitalize on the mistakes of what LGD does.
Got you. All right, Jockey. Let's see your picks. What do you think is going to happen with this group?
All right, so I have Gen G and TSM getting out with Fnatic and LG fourth. I think that while Gen G I think even though like in the last World Gen G was in, they went like I think 1-5 in groups. They have really upgraded. They have BDD in the mid lane. Ruler is playing out of his mind, and Life is a support for a Ruler. I think that Gen G will get out of this group. It'd be interesting to see if they get the first seed. I think they will get the first seed from this group, but in terms of the second team, I think it'll be TSM because I think personally it'll go down to a tiebreaker between TSM and Fnatic, and TSM historically has been one of the few NA teams to actually beat Fnatic 3-1. Well, I will say this though, like that was a Rift Rivals, so Rift Rivals is something completely different than Worlds, but I still think that TSM would beat Fnatic if they had to go to a tiebreaker. So I would think that TSM would be second in the groups and Gen G would be in first because Gen G I think is just a overall better team than people give them credit for. And TSM with Bjergsen, like he's playing out of his mind right now with the champions that he's been playing with. I think that Bjergsen would be the person to hard carry TSM out of this group. Yeah. So Gen G, I think Gen G will go like maybe 4-2 in the group. TSM 4-3. Fnatic 3-4. LGD, I don't know, maybe 2-4.
Interesting. All right, I'm gonna hit you guys with the spicy hot take from the viewer that I mentioned to earlier. So, by the way, this person's pick is Gen G, TSM, Fnatic, LGD. But this is the take that I want you guys to kind of weigh in on. He says, or they, sorry, not he or she, but they say, and I quote, "I actually have a hot take regarding this group. I think if TSM doesn't get out again, Doublelift retires and Bjergsen could. If he does, I think he becomes a TSM coach." How do you guys feel about that?
TSM Faker.
Let's yank him away from T1. Come to TSM.
TSM Faker. Dude, no, actually, though, if Bjergsen retires, Reginald's going to try and go get Faker. Because it's not about fit. It's about the amount of money
that he will make for TSM.
Now let's talk about that one for a minute, though.
Faker.
Let's talk about that one for a minute, though, because you're talking that Reginald will go get T1, or we'll go get Faker. But here's the problem: there is there again. This has never been officially confirmed. There is another team with a lot more money than TSM has that tried the same thing, and they couldn't get him. Yes. What makes you think TSM would succeed?
Honestly, I have no idea. I'm just memeing. Yeah. Honestly. Could you imagine, like, honestly, just for meme's sake, could you imagine how much Reddit would explode if
Reddit would break?
Baker signed with TSM. Like, Reddit would literally be a fire.
Koi is itching over there. Koi, what you got? I see you're itching.
So it's like, here's the thing, like, Faker is never going to leave the SKT. He's kind of like a Michael Jordan. He's not going to leave his team until they force him. You know, that's kind of the way it is. He doesn't care about money. He cares about winning championships. And I think until Faker wins 20 more championships, he's not going to quit. Same with Bjergsen. I think Bjergsen's in the same way where, like, until he wins a world championship, he's never going to quit.
Interesting.
Until until he hits a certain age where he knows, like think about it the way, like, Reckless, right? Reckless should have retired 3 years ago, but he's not going to. I think Double Lift is ready to retire, right? And I don't know if you guys knew this. They were memeing about it, but, like, Double Lift was asking his girlfriend to marry him, and he said his girlfriend was like, I'll marry you if you win Worlds. So now I get so
that's the motivation.
Yeah, so I think that's why I think, like, and that was during, like, when TSM was about to get eliminated, by the way, and Double Lift step up, you know.
So you think there is some credibility? You think that this is probably his last hurrah?
I think so too. I think Double Lift will retire soon, like, completely. I don't, like, he says it a lot that he doesn't want to retire, but I know he does. Like, I think he's tired of League. He just wants to do other things. I think Bjergsen's not gonna leave anytime soon until he really proves that NA is the best, or that he's one of the best mid laners. And Faker obviously himself has. If you've seen the SK team, Faker meets Bjergsen, right? You know that, like, Faker thinks that Bjergsen is good as well.
Yep.
Like, until like Bjergsen reaches the level of Faker, which even Faker thinks he's just as good as him, right? Until he proves it with World Championships, I don't think Bjergsen's gonna leave anytime.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I honestly, I think that too. Yeah. I think that Bjergsen's going to stay for a little bit. Yeah. But, I mean, Double Lift has just been in and out. Like, you can tell he doesn't have that, like, same
motivation.
How he carries himself, too. Because when he was with CLG, like, he's like, I'm the best. I know I'm the best. Like, everyone else is garbage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But now he's like an old man. He's not even that old, but he's like an old man in terms of League.
Yeah, he doesn't care anymore. Like, I especially when he took that break with Team Liquid, right? Like, he 100%, like, during that time was like, I know it's for personal reasons, right? But during that time, like, I bet you he felt like, oh, I don't want to play anymore. You know, like, he just wants to, like, stream and play games and, like, play the games that he wants to rather than play League 24/7.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's just I think he's just done. I think he's just done in general.
Yeah. I think after this year, I think Double Lift is going to go because he had his time in League. He wants to do other things. I think after this, I'm pretty sure he would be gone. But talking about Bjergsen, though, like, he's like, you were comparing Faker with Michael Jordan, like, with his team, with the Bulls. Like, the way Bjergsen is TSM's Michael Jordan. I don't see him leave, like, until a world championship or any international championship, even MSI. Like, if he gets that, I think that Bjergsen will stick around. But Double Lift, I think he's going to be gone after this season.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, well, that concludes that little bit of it. All right, we're going to go our last group. This one's, I think, I expect to see a little bit more variance with who's going to get out, though I think we all might agree that there's one team would probably be on the bottom. So Group D, this group, just as a reminder, Top Esports, Kingzone Dragon X. Of course, they're not Kingzone anymore, they're just Dragon X. Unicorns of Love, and FlyQuest. Gentlemen, I'm going to start with KoiPhish. What are your predictions for this group?
Well, okay, this one might be a little controversial. Dragon X over Top Esports.
Really? That's a hot take. You're gonna have to explain that one. You're gonna have to explain that one.
So to me, it's like, okay, I know Top Esports did beat Dragon X.
They are the like Chads of China. They're the Chinese Chads.
They are the Chads. They're here to dominate. But like to me, it's just kind of like, yeah, well, we got Chovy, Def, we got Dorad. It's like, I think, in my opinion, it just looks like Dragon X can outbeat Top East. I know they're the second seed. I think like I know Damwon's 100% better than Dragon X, but I think Dragon X is a little bit better than Top Esports. I still think that in the end, Top Esports is gonna probably take the world championship if you ask me, right? But like, I think in groups at least, Dragon X will come out on top over Top.
That is a hot
take. I think Knight's really good, but I don't think he's as good as Chovy. I think he's a little bit overrated in my opinion.
But, so what are your okay, so if you have Dragon Zone, if you have Dragon X over Top Esports, and tell me, so kind of playing for the chump change here for kind of not going out last, who do you see coming in that third and fourth spot for that group?
Oh God, like it was kind of flip flop for me, but I think if Unicorns of Love have played the way that they're playing, continue on, they'll take third, and then FlyQuest will take first. I will admit though, I think Unicorns of Love can take one game off of Top East. Just one though. But they want, like, only because of
probably that first game, and then they adjust.
Yeah, and then they adjust everything. Yeah. Like I think that's just because, like, I think they're gonna figure out what No Man's plan is, right? And just okay, we're gonna ban Cassim from this guy. You know, I think that's what everyone in the group everyone in that group is probably thinking. Like Top Esports and like Kingzone's probably already thinking we're just gonna ban Cassim just because I don't want to deal with it. But Top Esports, like, let them have it. Let's see what happens. You know, let's see what Knight versus No Man's is going to be like. You know, I think that's what they're probably going to plan to be doing. But yeah, like I think FlyQuest, they're young, right? I think they're just one flash into the enemy jungle from like going home. You know, I don't know. Yeah, if you know the meme.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you're thinking it's very high stakes for them, and likely if they drop any game at all, it won't be a good outcome for them.
Yeah, it won't be any good. Like, obviously I feel like it's already pretty much everyone are like FlyQuest. They have good players, but they don't have any experience besides maybe Centaurian and Power of Evil, and Wild Turtle. And Wild Turtle, I guess they technically do. It's just, to me, like, Wild Turtle is just not. Wild Turtle is gonna be an 80 carry. It's gonna be a bot lane difference for this entire. Like, cause take a look. It's Jackie Love and Def, Kira and QQ versus Wild Turtle and Ignore. It's gonna be a bot difference. Like, I just don't see it. You know, I think Unicorns of Love I'm just putting Unicorns of Love over FlyQuest just because of how they played during play-ins, but you know, FlyQuest could take third place. You know, it's kind of we'll have to see. That's the one thing that I'll have to see. You know.
All right, starting off that group with a pretty hot take, Jockey. Let's see what's brewing over there. What are your picks looking like?
All right, so I think Top Esports is going to get first, and I'm thinking that they're probably going to 6-0 this. I think they're going to easily maybe 6-0 this group.
Okay.
PRX, I think they'll definitely get a second seed. I'm really interested in seeing third and fourth between Unicorns of Love and FlyQuest, seeing how those two do against each other because Unicorns of Love, they play crazy. They draft crazy. They play the map crazy. They fight crazy. I think that they're going to cause some chaos, and I do think they'll get one game off the top two teams, but I think it'll be DRX instead of Top Esports.
So
I just think that
you think they'll get both games off DRX, but not top?
not just one game off of
Oh,
DRX.
so one game off both.
No, Top Esports will win both their games against them. What Unicorns Love will take one game off of DRX because I just
Okay.
think Top Esports is just way too good in this group against the lower teams like Unicorns Love and FlyQuest. Now, for FlyQuest though, I think with the experience that Power of Evil and Ignar has, think they I think they may put up a fight against some of the top teams, but I just don't see them actually winning any of their games against them because it's Jackie Love, it's Knight, 369, those kind of players going up against like Solo. I honestly feel bad for Solo because his first time at Worlds, he's going up against 369 and who's the top laner for DRX? I can't remember his name.
Doran.
Doran.
It's Doran.
Yeah, Solo is just not gonna have a fun time. Honestly, he's like I feel bad for him, and he's just not gonna have a fun time. But I think that the other members on FlyQuest, PoE, ignore a good fight, but I just don't see them taking any games off of top end DRX. So top esports 6-0, DRX 5-1, Unicorns of Love maybe 2-4, and FlyQuest 2-4.
Nice. All right, Zoodiac, we're gonna end this part out with you. Let's see some spicy predictions.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
That's
how
a precursor
spicy-
to my picks don't look any different than everybody else's.
Are you trying to convince me that Wild Turtle's going to
Listen,
somehow...
I'm not gonna say I would cheer you if you put FlyQuest first, but I mean, come on.
Actually, really fun about this though. This as a little aside. I was talking with a friend one time, and I was saying when like this is before FlyQuest was like even guaranteed to go to Worlds. I was telling him, just think, we live in a world where there's a chance we can see Jackie Love versus Wild Turtle, and here we are.
Yeah, well, that's a small
In the first game.
In the first game of the day.
Yeah,
The first game
day.
of group stage. So that's hilarious.
But just being realistic, I think if one team goes 0-6 at Worlds, it's going to be FlyQuest because, I remember I said last week that this is a team that could come out, but it was determined on what group they got, and they literally got the worst possible group because FlyQuest wants to do nothing, scale for 20 minutes, and then team fight. Dragon X, Top Esports, and Unicorns said, nah, we're going to fight you at 3 minutes, 9 minutes, 12 minutes, 10 minutes, whenever. We're just going to fight you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could see them I think they're going to go 0-6. Sorry, FlyQuest. I think Unicorns of Love will go 2-4. The games will probably be close against Dragon X and Top. But I don't think they can... I think that they're a little bit too gimmicky for Top and Dragon X, which is fine. It works against some teams, but I think just the level of player, like No Man's against even Chovy, like, do we really want to do? Like, I could see No Man's giving him some trouble, but I don't think he can close the game out. And then I think Top will eventually pick the group, but it'll be like 6-2. I think they'll be tied. I think Dragon X and Top will split because personally, I have Dragon X as the third best team in Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they'll split. They'll each go 5-1, and I think Top will. I think Top will take it in a really close tiebreaker. But again, Dragon X is another 2-seed that you don't want to see because they can probably beat whoever they play, unless it's like Dan1, which would be kind of Tech W. If we see the current three in final quarterfinals, but I just think that
So it sounds like
Dragon X
sounds like an F in chat
kind
moment
of
for
in
FlyQuest then.
yes.
Yeah.
But I cannot wait to see Top versus Dragon X because I mean we're talking about two of the perennial favorites to win this whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and we could very well see in 2018 Invictus Fnatic situation where the two teams from the same group make it to finals. because these two teams are just absolutely loaded.
Yeah, and not just with Group B, not just with this group, but Group B too with Damwon and JD.
Yeah.
Like those could also.
Interesting.
Yeah, we could very well see that.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, this is just a question. Is it still drawed for their seeds?
Well, sort of. So there was, I think, a little bit of flexibility in the way one or two teams could have gone. So I guess they did technically draw it, but there are so many rules regarding which regions can go where out of the group stage that, like, if they draw it, but then it's like, oh, well, this team, we drew it for Group A, but you can't go here because of, too many regions or whatever. So you got to go here. So it's a draw, but the draw is a formality. It really is. Cause there's when you come out of the play-in stage, you're pretty much guaranteed.
No, not that. I meant for knockout stage.
No,
I
don't think so.
They'll draw a 1 and a 2 seed.
Oh yeah, sorry. They'll draw 1 and 2 from every group.
Okay, because that's what
I think the one rule is that a 1 and a 2 seed from the same group cannot play
be
each
in the
other.
same game.
Yeah,
they have to.
Yeah, they can't be in the same side of the bracket.
Yeah.
Which
is
interesting. So I think that's the one rule. So that means we won't get to see. That means, thankfully, we won't see JDG versus. But that, just imagine how stupid that would be. Is we just get great it would be. We get Dragon X to Top Esports, and Dragon X woo, man, we got second. We're looking good, and then they get to the knockout stage. Oh, you're playing Top Esports, and it's wait a minute.
Yeah, because I was just remembering about how that SKT versus KT match, right? Should have been what people considered the real finals, right? I kind of want to know if at the end Top Esports and Damwon Gaming make it to the finals or semifinals and be oh, that's the real finals, I don't want that happening again.
I mean, a lot of people were saying that with last year with G2 and SKT, and 1+3 owed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because no one could beat the super mid Malphite.
That means you're good, man. So I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question that I kind of want to know that I have for y'all.
Right.
If I could ask this.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, so do you guys think that Worlds, the way the Worlds works, the tournament side should change?
It would depend. It would depend on what exactly you're changing. I think one of the biggest criticisms has been the way that regions qualify, and this is harkening back to the decision to allow 2 major regions to field a 4th team. My personal opinion, I felt that was vastly unfair to the minor regions. I felt that the 2 teams that were given that 4th slot were really not deserving of it. They were eliminated in their regions. They lost a chance. I think that as hard as it is for a decision for Riot to make, those 2 slots should have been afforded to a minor region. Specifically the 2 minor regions that have grown bigger over the last year. So maybe looking at the
Vietnam.
the LLA, so Vietnam or the LLA, or one of those regions, or maybe even Oceania, or maybe even Brazil, which just any of those regions being afforded a better opportunity, because it is this vicious cycle where, according to the way that Riot rules work for these tournaments, your seeding and your the number of teams you can send to groups or to Worlds is determined by your placements at the end of the tournament and how well you do. But the problem is it's this vicious cycle where they only get to send 1 team, so the region's chances as a whole are now astronomically lower than a team that now gets to send 4 teams. You have China, the premier region, sending 4 teams, and then you have LCK. You're guaranteeing the LCK 3 teams in the group stage, and this is my criticism of this year's tournament. They came out in a public statement and said, we think that based on LCK's performance historically at Worlds, that we think that they should be granted an automatic spot for all three of their teams in group stage. Well, on one hand, I can understand that a little bit, but here's the problem. The last 2.5 years have not looked good for Korea. There are other regions that have played better than them. And I think that in a world where you were looking at guaranteeing teams to go to the group stage, that Korea should have had a team that was in the play-ins. I don't agree with that assessment. I think that out of the last 2 years, they've shown that they aren't that good, that their teams have really not performed at Worlds. And I think that there was an argument to be made to send one of their teams to the play-in stage. And I think that, again, China and Europe getting 4 teams, you talk about fairness, that really does load the dice against any region that does not get that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think from a design format, if we look at the issue, and I want to hear what you guys think about the whole thing too, so I'll shut up here in a minute, but I think that the design of Worlds from a structural standpoint is fine. I definitely agree with the way play-ins happen. I agree that that is a good way to kind of shake down which teams, maybe necessarily are not getting there as meritoriously as other teams. I think that it does help the competitive aspect. I think it is a vicious cycle of, seeing some teams that might have a chance to get some other teams in the groups go home early, but that's the way it is. And in order to preserve competitive integrity and preserve competitive level, I think that that's important. I think that the group stage, for the most part, it works. I don't really know how I feel about this whole lottery draw system, but I can't conceive of a better way to do it. I think there is a little bit of element of randomness, which I think is enjoyable, but I think obviously you end up with problems where SK and Team Fnatic were complaining about, hey, we are consistently getting put in the groups of death. We are high-level teams that now have to knock each other out of this tournament. I think that was a little bit better this year, just due to kind of RNG. I think that it just happened to work out, so it doesn't really feel like any group is kind of getting cheated out of high-level teams not getting a chance to make it because they have to play against other high-level teams. You don't want that scenario where you had Fnatic, SKT, and Invictus all in the same, all in the same group. Like, how does that happen? And then, they were justifiably complaining about it. It's, that's fair. But I think that Worlds as a whole, it works. I think it's okay, but it's a fairness thing. I think this year it feels different because it feels like some regions got away with some stuff that they shouldn't have been able to, getting the extra seed. But I don't really know how else a tournament would work unless you want to look at a format like Dota does, with teams being able to qualify in this really brutal, really long system of not really LAN games, but they're online games. The Dota 2 format is a little more confusing, but
I like the Dota 2 format.
And it's great because it is a thing. I think it's a better way for smaller teams to get a chance to get in because they play more games. But the problem is the I don't really know what the disconnect is between League being able to do that and the way that Dota does it. I
think it's because of the region thing. It's because of the fact that, like, for Dota, it's more about majors, right? And people who win majors get qualified automatically, which is reasonable. You win the first major of the year. You don't have to worry about playing. You don't have to worry about playing all the other majors, right?
Yeah.
And you can just worry about the World Championship.
Which does bring up the question: should League include majors? Because the one thing I did notice, though, is when somebody talks about international events, they brought up the expenses that these teams incur going at international events, which I think is why Worlds is kept to the format it is in order to minimize overall expense for the league. But the thing is it isn't like Riot doesn't have the resources in order to make it the investment to where they could, sort of eat some of these costs. They, there's been a lot of discussion. They could definitely improve the prize pool. They definitely could improve the way that the Worlds format works in terms of the length and longevity. But I think that their thing is, and I understand where they're coming from, is a term of broadcast. You only want to be following an event for so long. And I think that's one of the things that Dota kind of goes against it, is most people don't really watch all the stuff that leads up to the finals, except, when they get to the knockout games there, like most people tune in there. Whereas the majority of the league events, especially for Worlds, everybody watches the whole thing because it is a month-long event, but it's condensed to the point where you can watch it all in one go and you don't feel maybe necessarily exhausted as trying to follow the entirety of the Dota tournament, entirety of the international. But I do think that there is a way that they could allow these teams to qualify for the group stage of Worlds while still having to play in stage by including more international tournaments. All we have is MSI, prior to Worlds. I don't think that's enough experience. Like, you're asking these squads that have no international experience most of the time, or very little, that don't get exposure to regions like North America, Europe, Korea. You're asking them to come and play in these tournaments, and they're like, we don't know anything because we've never played against these guys. Whereas if you had like, let's say you had the mid-season invitational and you had two major events that would allow teams that, but then you reach the argument of, okay, well, which teams are allowed to go play at the majors?
Yeah.
So you have that problem.
So, because like I was just wondering because like the thing is like I personally I feel like the way to fix it is like I want more wild card playing. I want more international teams, and I think the best way we could do this is you can give the main regions right 2 spots for groups, right, for the main event, right. But then like the third place team of each one of those regions, right, should be in the wild card and like play in. They should fight their way to get there because just because you hit third place, I don't think third place means nothing. You're just a second loser.
Yeah.
You're like it should mean like you're basically the equivalent of a wild card team. I think like teams like Mad Lions shouldn't have made it. I think LGD shouldn't have made it. I think those spots should have been given to a to a to a international card. I also think that Gen G also should have played in play-ins, right? I think that's what should have changed, right? Rather than like, oh, hey, we're gonna give the top 2 regions from like the last year, give them 4 seeds, right? And have their fourth team like get force them fourth team to be in play-ins. Yeah. So it like I don't think like like that's why I'm not like surprised that Mad Lions didn't make it out, right? It's just they should have made it out according to because they're from EU they should have made it out, right? But it's because like they're the equivalent of like a wildcard region. There's no point. They could still get knocked.
Yeah.
Not like Team Liquid. Team Liquid I think is different because they're not 4th place in their region. They're 3rd place, which means third place and 4th place are 2 different, things, right? So that's why to me at least like it was a no brainer, right? Like this. I feel like that's how you should fix play-ins. I don't like the random drawings. I think that they should be seeded based on what the analysts think, right? So that way seeds are better equipped, right? It should be the best team from each region, 1-1-1-1-1, right? And then the second team, second, and then kind of like a basketball or an NFL playoffs. Like that's what it should look like to me.
Gotcha.
Like that's just me. I think it should be the same way as soon as group stages ends, right? It should be okay, best team with the record. Here's the first seed, second seed, third seed, and then so on and so on, right? Like that's just to me, Yeah.
Very interesting. All right, gentlemen. Closing remarks as we kind of get to the end of this. Just anything that anybody wants to say is a kind of final remark to any of the stuff we've talked about before we kind of sign this thing off.
So, what I will say in terms of Worlds, just as a general overview, Worlds is always my favorite time of the year, and for League, people criticize League a lot, and some of it's rightfully deserved, some of it isn't, in my personal opinion. But what I will say though is that Worlds is like it's the pinnacle of League. It's a collection of some of the best minds put together, duking it out for a championship. And I know a lot of people on Reddit meme, oh, champ broken, this and that. But taking the time to actually sit, not even watching it live, if you just want to watch the VODs, which is sometimes what I do, if I don't want to wake up at 3 a.m. or stay up till 3 a.m. But taking time to just appreciate the amount of work that has gone into this year because it's not a normal year. We still have COVID running around. And I know for us gamers, going outside is not exactly like, it's not like the worst thing in the world, but like actually taking the time to really appreciate like the work that has been put in for the teams, the production crew, the casters, everyone it's really something to behold. And honestly, I couldn't be more proud to be a part of not only the League community at this time of year, but also like the esports community.
Yeah. So bouncing off like what he said, like Worlds is a spectacle. It's one of the biggest, if not, I think the biggest esports event in the world. Like, yes, the prize pool's lower than I think the international Dota, but it's like on scale of popularity and what the attention it gets from the esports world, like it tops that easily. I think Worlds is like a good, like a really great time to be a gamer in League of Legends because you have the best teams duking it out for the Summoners Cup, and with their especially with their opening ceremonies, like the opening ceremonies, like they're legendary. Like 2017, you had that Elder Dragon like show up to the opening ceremony. In 2018, you had the KDA AR concert. In 2019, you had those like whatever they're called, those like holographic graphics for the True Damage song. Like each like it's a spectacle. Worlds is a spectacle event, and I think that with this year, it's gonna be really interesting seeing how they do it this year because of COVID. It'll be interesting to see how they celebrate Worlds with especially with their opening ceremony with for the finals with COVID. But I think Worlds is a spectacle event, as I keep saying, and I think that it's an exciting time to be a league player, exciting time to be in the esports scene, and I think that this Worlds is going to be one of the ages.
It's very nice to hear, gentlemen. Well, guys, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today. A special thanks to KoiPhish, Zoodiac, and Jockey for coming on. Zoodiac and Jockey are intern writers for Dignitas. A special thanks to them for getting the time. I want to thank anybody else that stuck around this long and watched us. I appreciate you watching. Make sure to leave a follow button to know anytime we go live. We're definitely going to do more of these as Worlds comes on. And a special thanks to anyone that's seeing this on YouTube after the post-production. Thank you for your support. Make sure you smash that like button and follow us there. And then obviously follow all these guys on Twitter. You know, they're always putting out good stuff, good commentary, good stats, and you'll definitely want to kind of see what they're talking about, especially as the tournament goes on. That's going to do us for us here, so thank you for watching and have a good one.